A stolen glance, a dangerous invitation. What happens when a married woman gives in to temptation? The chemistry is electric, but the consequences could destroy everything. Want to know how far she'll go? Keep watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. The first time I invited Pablo into my home, I knew exactly what I was doing. I wasn't intoxicated, nor was I acting on a fleeting impulse. No, this wasn't a moment I could blame on circumstances. I wanted it. I wanted him and had for quite a while. It all started innocently, just stolen looks at work, casual chats that stretched on a little too long, a touch on my arm as he laughed at something I said. His smooth, deep voice made my skin tingle every time. He was younger than me, in his mid-30s, effortlessly confident with a body shaped by strength and discipline. He moved with the ease of someone who knew exactly what he was capable of, and I felt it every time he walked past me, every time his gaze lingered on mine just a second too long. That slow, dangerous heat would coil inside me, deep and undeniable. I knew I should ignore it. I had a husband, a stable marriage built on comfort and routine, a life that was predictable. But that predictability had begun to feel hollow. Pablo, on the other hand, was anything but empty. So that afternoon, when my husband left for a business trip, I didn't hesitate. I looked across the office at Pablo, let my eyes meet his, and gave him a silent invitation. When I whispered, "Come over," his smirk told me he had been waiting for this moment as much as I had. As soon as we crossed the threshold into my home, the air felt different, charged. The door clicked shut behind us, sealing us inside, away from the world, away from guilt, away from reason. Pablo stood close, his presence overwhelming in the best possible way. His scent, warm and masculine, wrapped around me, making my breath catch in my throat. He didn't rush, didn't move immediately. Instead, he let the tension build, letting the space between us close slowly, deliberately. His dark eyes roamed over me, drinking in every detail. "You look nervous," he murmured. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding. "I'm not," I replied, though the smirk on his lips told me he knew I was lying. His fingers brushed against my arm, a barely there touch that sent a shiver down my spine. My skin burned for more. I had never wanted anything so much before, and he knew it. "Pablo," I breathed, barely audible. But it was enough. Enough for him to step forward, his hands gripping my waist with a firm, possessive hold, his lips brushing against my ear. "You sure about this?" he asked. I wasn't just sure. I was desperate. So I answered without words, by closing the gap between us and pressing my lips to his, giving myself over to him completely. The moment our lips met, he took me. No hesitation, no second thoughts, just pure, unrelenting desire. His hands tightened on my hips, pulling me closer, his body solid, unyielding. His kiss was rough, demanding, stealing my breath, my thoughts, my everything. I gasped against him, my fingers tangling in his hair, pulling him closer, deeper, more. He groaned low and deep, his grip tightening as he lost himself in the moment, his control slipping just enough for me to feel the raw strength of him, the dominance in the way he moved. He owned every second of this. And it was intoxicating, addictive, exactly what I had been craving. Without effort, Pablo lifted me, his hands gripping my thighs, carrying me through the house like I weighed nothing, my back slammed into the wall, his body pressing against mine, and I gasped, my nails digging into his shoulders. I had never felt so small, so completely out of control, and I didn't want it to stop. I didn't want to think, didn't want to breathe without him. "Pablo," I moaned, barely recognizing my own voice. He pulled back slightly, his forehead resting against mine, his breath heavy. "I've been waiting for this," he murmured, his voice rough, almost dangerous. I shuddered, my fingers tightening around him. "Then don't make me wait any longer," I urged, my voice trembling. His dark eyes burned into mine, something primal flickering in them. And then he carried me up the stairs, each step slow and deliberate, the tension between us building tighter and tighter until I thought I might explode. I had no idea what would come next, only that there was no turning back now. I had already crossed the line, and I never wanted to go back. He carried me up with a strength that took my breath away, his grip firm and possessive, his hands pressing into my thighs as if making sure I wouldn't slip away. But there was no chance of that. I wasn't going anywhere. My arms were wrapped around his broad shoulders, my fingers tangled in the soft curls at the back of his neck. His scent, rich and intoxicating, surrounded me, making my head spin. Every step he took, every flex of his muscles sent a thrill through me. I had never been handled like this before, like I was both fragile and powerful, like I was already his. We reached the bedroom, and before I could even catch my breath, he lowered me onto the bed. His body followed, his warmth surrounding me as the soft sheets cradled my back. His presence consumed me, intense and electrifying. His hands moved deliberately along my sides, confident and assured, making me feel every moment of his touch. His eyes locked onto mine, dark and unreadable, filled with something intense. "You've thought about this before, haven't you?" he asked, his voice low, edged with a knowing smile. I nodded, my breath quick and shallow. "Yes," I whispered. A slow grin spread across his face. "How long?" I hesitated just for a moment, then whispered, "Since the first time you touched me." His fingers traced up my arm, light as a feather, and still it sent an electric shiver through me. "The office," he said, his voice remembering that time. "When I brushed past you, you liked it." A breath caught in my throat. "Yes," I admitted. He leaned in slightly, his voice softer now but still firm. "I knew it." His hands slid lower, more purposeful now, resting on my waist. "You tried to hide it," he added, his breath warm against my cheek. "But I felt it." My hands gripped his shoulders, my fingers pressing into him. "Pablo," I whispered. "Say it." His tone held weight, barely above a whisper, but it was loaded with intensity. His lips brushed against the edge of my jaw, sending a jolt through my entire body. "I wanted you," I said, my voice trembling. His hands tightened at my sides. "Still do," he murmured. And with that, the tension between us, stretched so thin for so long, finally snapped. He leaned in, his lips meeting mine in a deep, urgent kiss. His hands held me firmly, making sure I knew just how serious this was, how long it had been building. The kiss was intense, leaving me breathless. My hands moved up into his hair, pulling him closer. He let out a soft sound from deep in his chest, his fingers weaving through my hair to steady me as the moments carried us both away. This wasn't gentle or uncertain. It was a spark that had ignited into a blaze. His hands moved lower, pulling me closer, grounding me as I felt every part of me respond to him, to the quiet strength and energy he exuded. I welcomed it fully. There was something about the way he held me, the way he moved, that made everything else vanish. With Pablo, nothing else mattered. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't want to hold back. "Tell me you're mine," he murmured against my lips, his voice rough with desire. I didn't hesitate. "I'm yours." A low growl rumbled from his chest, and in that moment, I knew I had just given him everything. I didn't regret it, not for a second. The world outside no longer existed. Time blurred, the night stretching on, endless and scorching. I lost myself in him, in his power, in his control. By the time I collapsed against him, breathless and spent, my skin still tingling from his touch, I had nothing left to give. But I still wanted more. I still wanted him. Pablo's arm tightened around my waist, drawing me closer, his breath warm against my temple. "You're not leaving," he murmured. It wasn't a question. I shivered, my fingers tracing slow circles on his skin. "I don't want to." His smirk was full of satisfaction. "Good, because we're not done." The room still glowed with the golden light of the evening, casting long shadows across the tangled sheets. My skin still hummed from Pablo's touch, my breath uneven as I lay beside him, my head resting on his chest. His fingers moved lazily over my bare back, his grip firm yet comforting, as though even now he wasn't willing to let me go. I didn't want to go either. There was something different about this moment, something raw, something real. It wasn't just the rush of adrenaline or the thrill of secrecy. It was the way he looked at me, the way his body felt pressed against mine, the way I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. Pablo tilted his head, gazing down at me, his dark eyes burning with something unreadable. "You're quiet." I exhaled softly, my fingertips lightly tracing the hard lines of his chest as I tried to catch my breath. A slow, knowing smirk spread across his lips. "I like you like this," he said. "Like what?" I asked, a shiver running through me as his fingers tangled in my hair, tilting my chin up so our eyes met, unfiltered. His gaze sent a jolt through me. I should have corrected him, should have reminded him that I belonged to someone else, that this was just a fleeting moment, a dangerous indulgence. But in this moment, the truth was, I was his completely, and we both knew it. Pablo leaned in, his lips grazing the corner of my mouth, his breath warm against my skin. "Stay a little longer." I hesitated, my fingers tightening against his chest. "I shouldn't." "But you want to," he said, his voice filled with certainty. "Yes, God, yes." My phone sat on the nightstand, dark and silent for now, but I knew the second I reached for it, reality would return. My husband, my life, the version of me I had so carefully built. But Pablo's touch was still on me, still in me, still owning me. I wasn't ready to let it go. "One more hour," I whispered. His smirk deepened. "That's all I need." And just like that, I was lost in him again. When I finally opened my eyes, the room was bathed in dim light, the sky outside shifting from gold to deep blue. I blinked, stretching slightly, my muscles deliciously sore, my body still humming from everything we had shared. Pablo was propped up on one elbow, watching me with that same unreadable expression. His fingers traced slow, deliberate patterns along my hip. I bit my lips, suddenly feeling self-conscious under his gaze. "Guilty?" he asked with a slow, lazy smirk. "I like watching you wake up in my bed," he added, and heat coiled low in my stomach. "This isn't your bed," I responded, my words shaky, though his certainty sent a shiver down my spine. "It is now," he said, as though it were undeniable. I shook my head and pushed myself up on my elbows. "I should really go." Pablo caught my wrist before I could move, his grip firm and grounding. "You're not ready yet." He wasn't asking. And the worst part? He was right. I wasn't ready to go back to my life, to put on the mask of the devoted wife, to pretend that this day hadn't happened. But it had, and I had never felt more alive. I exhaled slowly, my fingers brushing across his jaw. "Your trouble." His smirk widened. "And you love it." I didn't deny it because we both knew the truth. By the time I finally left, the sky was pitch black, the streets quiet, the world moving on as though nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I drove home in silence, gripping the wheel tightly, my heart still racing from everything I had just done. My phone buzzed in the passenger seat, messages and missed calls, a reminder of the life I was returning to. But as I pulled into the driveway, as I stepped into the dark, silent house, I realized something. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel ashamed. I felt free. And the most dangerous part, I knew this wasn't the last time, not even close. The house was quiet when I stepped inside. For a moment, I just stood there, my breath shallow, my body still thrumming with the aftershocks of everything that had happened. The scent of Pablo still lingered on my skin, his touch still marked in the places only he had claimed. I should have rushed upstairs, should have showered and erased every trace of him before my husband returned. But I didn't. Instead, I moved slowly, deliberately, slipping off my heels, my fingers trailing along the cool surface of the kitchen counter. I liked the way I felt right now. Loose, relaxed, satisfied. I had almost forgotten what that felt like. The vibration of my phone snapped me back to reality. I reached for it, my stomach tightening when I saw my husband's name flashing across the screen. I hesitated before answering, pressing the phone to my ear. "Hey," I said. "Hey, babe." Daniel's voice was warm, casual, unaware of the sin woven into my skin. "I just landed. Figured I'd call before heading home." I swallowed, forcing my voice to stay steady. "How was your flight?" "Long," he chuckled. "I missed you." A flicker of something twisted in my chest. Guilt? No, something else, something I couldn't name. "I missed you too," I lied smoothly, leaning against the counter. Daniel sighed. You sound tired. You okay? I smiled to myself. Tired, number spent, ruined. I'm fine, I muttered softly, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. Just a long day. Well, I can't wait to see you, he replied. Should be home in an hour or so. I exhaled slowly, letting the weight of his words settle on me. An hour. 60 minutes before I had to slip back into my role, before I had to erase all evidence of Pablo, before I had to pretend that tonight never happened. I'll be waiting, I whispered, then ended the call. But I wasn't ready to let go of this just yet. I leaned against the counter, tilting my head back slightly. My body still hummed, still alive with the memory of what had just happened. I closed my eyes, my fingers absent-mindedly tracing the spots where Pablo's touch had lingered just hours earlier. Then another buzz. A different name. Pablo. My heart skipped a beat. I hesitated, staring at the screen, feeling my pulse quicken. Slowly I answered. His voice was smooth, deep, and full of satisfaction. Did you make it home? I let out a breath, a small smile tugging at my lips. Yes. Did you shower yet? My stomach tightened. No. A low chuckle followed. Good. I shivered, gripping the counter. Pablo, are you thinking about me? He asked, his voice low and teasing. I swallowed hard. Yes. More than I should. More than is safe. But I didn't say that part aloud. Instead, I bit my lip, my voice barely above a whisper. Maybe. His breath hitched slightly, and I could hear the smirk in his voice. Don't lie to me, Karina. I exhaled shakily, my body betraying me, my thighs instinctively pressing together. I'm not, I muttered. He hummed in satisfaction. That's what I thought. The silence between us grew thick with tension, with something dangerous. Finally, his voice came again, softer, darker. You're going to see me again. It wasn't a question. And the worst part, I wanted to, I needed to. I closed my eyes, my fingers tightening against the counter. My body was still his. Even now. Even here. I know, I whispered. This wasn't over, it was just the beginning. I should have ended it there. I should have told him no. Deleted his number, done something to stop this before it became something I couldn't control. But instead I stood there, my phone still pressed to my ear, my breath uneven, my body still burning with everything he had done to me. I knew I should have let go, but I didn't. Instead, I whispered when there was a pause, followed by a slow, satisfied chuckle. Whenever you're ready, Mamour. God, he was dangerous. And I was weak. I exhaled shakily, gripping the counter. Daniel's coming home soon. I know, Pablo replied, his voice smooth, knowing. That's why you can't stop thinking about me, isn't it? I swallowed hard, my pulse racing because he was right. I could already hear the sound of my husband's key turning in the door. I imagined the way he'd smile at me, press a kiss to my cheek, tell me he missed me. And I'd smile back, play my part, let him hold me while my body still ached for someone else. It should have made me feel guilty, but it didn't. It made me feel alive. Pablo's voice dropped lower, sending a shiver down my spine. You're mine now, Karina, you know that, don't you? My throat went dry. I should have told him no, I should have said this was a mistake. But instead I whispered yes. His breath hitched slightly. Good girl. I shuddered, a sound outside, tires crunching on gravel. Daniel was home. I straightened quickly, pressing a hand to my chest, trying to steady my breathing, trying to shove down the rush of adrenaline still surging through my veins. Pablo must have heard it too. His voice turned smug, dark. Go kiss your husband, Kinha. But don't forget who really owns you now. Then he hung up, leaving me standing there, my skin burning, my heart racing, my body still betraying me with how much I wanted him. The moment Daniel walked through the door, he smiled. Hey, beautiful. I forced a breath, smoothing down my dress and putting on the smile I had perfected over the years. Hey! He set his bag down and walked toward me, wrapping his arms around my waist as he pressed a soft kiss to my forehead. I missed you. I exhaled, relaxing into his embrace, letting myself pretend just for a second that nothing had changed, that I was still his, that I hadn't already given myself to someone else. But the moment his lips brushed mine, I felt it. The difference, the lack of urgency. His hands rested gently on my hips instead of claiming me. He kissed me with familiarity, not hunger, and it hit me like a jolt of electricity. I wasn't the same woman he had kissed goodbye 2 days ago. I had tasted something else and I needed more. I pulled away first, offering him another smile as I reached for his bag. You must be tired. A little, he admitted, stretching, but I'd rather just spend the night with you. I nodded, stepping back, forcing myself to move like everything was normal. I'll pour you a drink. I turned quickly before he could look too closely at me, before he could see the truth in my eyes. While he talked about his flight, his meetings, the things he thought mattered, I was still thinking about Pablo. Still feeling him. Still belonging to him. And the worst part, I didn't want to stop. That night I lay in bed beside my husband, listening to his steady breathing, staring at the ceiling as the minutes ticked by. I should have been tired, should have been exhausted, but my body was still wide awake, still restless, still hungry. I turned onto my side, looking at Daniel's sleeping face, at the man who had given me everything: stability, security, comfort. And yet, in the end, it wasn't enough. I slipped out of bed quietly, padding down the hallway to the bathroom. My reflection in the mirror stared back at me, flushed cheeks, slightly swollen lips, eyes still dark with something I hadn't yet named. I turned on the water, splashing my face, trying to cool the fire still burning under my skin. Then I reached for my phone. The message was already there. Pablo, you're thinking about me again. I inhaled sharply, gripping the sink. I should have ignored it, should have turned off my phone, climbed back into bed, pressed my body against my husband's, let myself forget. But I didn't. Instead, I typed back, me, yes. A pause then. Pablo, good, because I want you again. My breath caught. I stared at the screen, at those 5 words that made my body tighten, my world tilt. Because I knew that this wouldn't be the last time. No matter how hard I tried, no matter how much I told myself this was wrong, I would go back to him. I would crave him. And when the time came, when Pablo called for me again, I would answer without hesitation, without regret, because I was his now. And there was no going back.